Welcome to the Luther College Gardens. Here at Luther, we are Good Agricultural Practices, or GAP, certified. Every year, we get audited to make sure that we are following our food safety plan, and you are a big part of this. Food can be exposed to biological, physical, and chemical hazards during growing, pre- and post-harvesting. A CDC study has determined that between 1998 and 2008, 46% of foodborne illness was attributed to produce-related items, and within that 46%, about half could be attributed to poor employee training. Microorganisms, the living things responsible for disease and illness, can be found in soil, water, organic matter, and human hosts, and are not visible to the human eye. Some of the most harmful microorganisms found on farms include Salmonella, Shigella, Listeria monocytogenes, and E. coli 157H7. Viruses commonly found are hepatitis A and norovirus. It's easy to get rid of the risk of the spread of disease and illness if we follow all of the rules included in this video, focusing on proper hand washing and not coming into work if sick. Help us keep our food safe. When selecting a field location, make sure the previous use didn't leave behind heavy metals, chemicals, or high levels of animal waste. The Luther College Gardens location has been farmland since it was purchased, and it has been used by the college to produce food in our current layout for the last 8 years. A soil test through extension is done every year to determine the nutrient content of the soil. We have an 8-foot tall fence that prevents large wildlife from entering the gardens. Many wild animals are carriers of disease. This fence is also used to keep out domestic animals that, while may not be disease-carrying, may also contaminate produce with urine, fecal matter, or dirty hair. No wildlife or domestic animals are allowed within the boundaries of the production beds. Please notify your supervisor if you notice animals or signs of animals inside the fence line. The fence is only as effective as the people using it, so please keep the gate closed every time you enter and leave the fenced-in space. The water at the Luther College Gardens comes from a well, and the water is tested every year through Iowa State Extension. Our water is tested for E. coli, coliform bacteria, nitrates, and nitrites. We supplement our soil with compost. Each time it is applied, it is logged in our food safety plan. As of now, we don't produce any of our own compost. All of our compost is purchased from Cow's Milk Compost in Cochran, Wisconsin, and is tested every year for the presence of prohibited materials, as well as nitrates, nitrites, and E. coli. Documentation can be found in our food safety plan. We keep our compost covered by a tarp at all times. We do not apply any raw manure onto our fields. Before working in the gardens, before harvest, after using the bathroom, and after all breaks, please wash your hands. Hands should be lathered in soap for at least 15 seconds, enough time to sing Happy Birthday, and dried with a single-use towel. Hands can get muddy in the gardens, but while cleaning yourself up, please try your best to keep the bathroom clean. The Center for Disease Control has found that over 50% of foodborne illnesses are attributed to poor hand washing practices. Hand washing is the single most important means for preventing the spread of infection. These are examples of appropriate garden attire. While working in the Luther Gardens, we recommend you wear closed-toed shoes, long pants, and a hat. Please wear clothing that is not tattered, with pieces that could fall off and end up in the produce. No elaborate or delicate jewelry is allowed, either in the field or in the packing house. A watch, a simple wedding band, and semi-permanent facial jewelry are permitted. Fomites are non-living items that can transmit disease or viruses. Cell phones act as fomites. Please keep your phone in the break room unless absolutely necessary. Eating is only allowed in the break room and in the patio outside the packing shed. Eating in the field is not permitted, as it can result in contamination of food products being harvested. Always wash your hands after eating. Please bring a reusable, non-glass water bottle to work every day. Sunscreen is a great idea most of the year. Smoking is not allowed on Luther's campus, and this includes the farm and Roslyn Woodlands. Please don't smoke anywhere on the property, especially near the production fields or the packing shed. All visitors who will be here for more than an hour and anyone working with produce needs to go through basic food safety training. This includes friends you may want to bring to the farm and volunteer groups. If you have vomited or have had diarrhea within 24 hours of your shift or volunteer hours, please don't come to work in the fields or the packing shed. We are growing produce that is often consumed raw, and any viruses or bacteria that spreads onto the produce can get people sick, especially the immunocompromised, young children, pregnant women, and the elderly. If the toilet or the septic field, located between Pole Line Road and the packing shed, as seen here, is overflowing, please notify the food safety manager and your supervisor. Workers should not handle any physical wastes personally. Please gently remind others to practice food safety. If you see problems continue to persist, please notify your manager. Only sanitized tools and totes should be used for harvest. Sanitized tools can be found in the plastic drawer in the packing shed, and sanitized totes are stored upside down on top of pallets. Harvest totes are not to be used for anything else except produce. Tools that have not been sanitized should never be used for harvest, as they also act as fomites, once again the non-living potential carrier of disease. Produce that will not be washed, such as tomatoes or basil, is often field packed, and the harvest totes can never touch the ground. Physical hazards in the field include wood, glass, and metal. Remove all physical hazards as soon as you see them. If you can't remove it on your own, please let a manager know. We also remove all trash and large stones from the field, as both can cause injury or damage to farm equipment. Trash receptacles are located inside the packing shed, in small bins, and also outside of the packing shed. If an employee is injured in the field or packing house, the farm manager or supervisor, after assuring the employee's safety, will immediately inspect the area where the injury happened to make sure no blood or bodily fluids have contaminated the area. If there is blood in the field, all contaminated surfaces will be removed to a plastic bag with a shovel or gloved hands and placed in a trash can. All affected soil will be shoveled up around and under, and the area will be removed. All affected produce will be discarded in the garbage, as well as any packing materials. If the injury was made with a harvest knife, the knife must be sanitized before continued use. All injuries must be reported to your supervisor, and an illness and injury report form needs to be filled out. The same radius protocol applies to finding fecal matter or glass in the field. Luther Gardens water is tested each year through Iowa State Extension. It is tested for presence of E. coli, nitrates, and coliform bacteria. All water, both in the field and in the packing shed, is potable and comes from the same well. All produce harvest and delivery totes must be kept elevated from the ground on pallets when stored. Totes that at any point touch the ground must be sanitized before being used for harvest or delivery, or before they are placed back onto the pallets. We use Sanidate 5.0 in our packing shed as a sanitizer. Once it is diluted into wash tubs and spray bottles, it is safe for exposure to either food or hands. In its concentrated form, please use gloves when handling. Sanidate 5.0 is food safe once it has been diluted to appropriate concentrations. Follow dilution instructions found on instructional sheets in the packing shed, also listed on the spray bottles. All chemicals, including Sanidate, are stored and locked in the back of the packing shed. The Sanidate container should be stored upright to prevent leakage and corrosion of the plastic rim. Sanidate should not be used without proper training. All chemicals should only be used for their intended purposes. The packing shed has 4 rodent traps that are checked monthly. Please inform your supervisor if at any point you see signs of a rodent infestation. Our traps are never baited. When produce falls onto the ground in the packing shed during a pack, leave it for the duration and then place it in the compost bin at the end. If you touch produce that has touched the ground, you must wash your hands before returning to the pack. All our cleaning and sanitizing is recorded on the cleaning and sanitizing log. Each delivery tote that goes to the calf is labeled with the field number, weight, date, and product type. In the case of produce recall, we will be able to find the specific product from the specific contaminated location quickly and make sure that it isn't consumed. Each year, we conduct 1 to 2 mock recalls to make sure this process goes seamlessly. Before each delivery, the delivery vehicle is checked for presence of contaminants such as pet hair, broken plastic, dripping oil, petroleum, or food scraps. This is noted on the cleaning and sanitizing log in the packing shed. Delivery vehicles are only allowed on roadways and never in the field. Thank you for working in the Luther College Gardens.